Hello, it's Lion here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing another manga review. Today we're going to be looking at Mashle, Magic and Muscles, and we're going to be looking at the first arc, which is the Academy Enrollment arc, or the Easton Academy Enrollment arc, or something like that. It's basically the introduction arc, and it covers the full first volume and the first 2 chapters of the second volume, which would be about 50 pages worth of content there. So yeah, like I said, 10 chapters is the first arc. This is written by Hajime Komoto. He does both the art and the story, and it's published by Viz, as you guys can see right there on the side. And the demographic for this is shonen, of course, because it's part of the Shonen Jump line. And the genres here are fantasy and comedy. It's kind of like a magic school setting, so that kind of, it depends on whether you consider that a genre or not. I usually mention it in this kind of area, but technically it is just a plot device or a setting, kind of like the original kind of intent of isekai, although at this point isekai is more or less kind of a genre in and of itself, so you know, it is what it is. Adaptations wise, it does have one. It just started airing, and I think there's currently 1 episode available on Crunchyroll. I have not had time to watch it yet, so I haven't. And the rating for this first arc is a 4 out of 5. It's not perfect, but it's one that really attracted my attention when I initially first read this. And I don't think I ever did a first impressions review for this series. I should have, but I didn't, because it was before I started doing them. And this second time around, it was a little bit less enjoyable in the sense that because I already knew the jokes, I wasn't laughing at them as much, because most of these are like sight gags and stuff like that, which don't really work that well, you know, after you've already seen them once. But I did find it to be, you know, still engaging, so it's a 4 out of 5. Premise-wise, in this first 2 volumes, we basically have Mash, who happens to be this unmagical person. He has no skills, no magic whatsoever, but he is someone that has a lot of physical ability because his grandfather, or actually his father, his adoptive father, chose to get him interested in physical training as a way to give him some sort of way to combat the difficulties that were, you know, going to show up in his life due to the fact that he is unmagical. Because in this version of this magical world, people with no magic are immediately discarded from society. And so somehow he ended up not being discarded, and he was raised by his adoptive father. And the problem is that someone found out that he's not magical. And so that led to people blackmailing him and getting him into a tough situation that then moves on to, you know, the story of the manga, right? So overall, it was pretty good. If you're looking for sort of a way to kind of compare this to other stuff, or a way to kind of quickly understand what it's about, imagine One Punch Man if it was Mob Psycho's like character design in a Harry Potter world, and you're more or less kind of, you know, understanding what this is about. You know, you could say that there's elements of Black Clover in there as well because of the magic setting with a guy that has no magic, but I don't think that's a Black Clover exclusive trope, so it is what it is. But yeah, it's more or less Mob Psycho with One Punch Man powers in a Harry Potter world. So if you're looking for something to replace Harry Potter as your hyperfixation, but still in that kind of same vein, I think Mashle is a pretty good one for that. So yeah, let's move on to the plot line here. It opens with Mashle training, and he's kind of doing weights and lifting and stuff like that, and he gets hungry, and he wants some cream puffs, so he goes into town to buy these cream puffs, and somehow he ends up kind of revealing the fact that he has no magic, because everyone in this world has a line across their face, or more, and he doesn't have one because he doesn't have any powers, right? So someone figures it out, then he gets reported to the police. Then the guy in charge of the police decides that this kid is kind of weird and he has a lot of strength, so maybe we can make him do something. You know, so he blackmails him. He's like, all right, man, I know you're not magical, but I need you to go to Easton Academy, and become the Divine Missionary, the top-rated student of this academy, so that you can get all of the monetary and social status kind of value out of it, and you're going to give some of that to me, right? And so basically he's being told to get something, and then others will reap the rewards of those of that accomplishment, right? And well, there really is no other way for him to kind of get out of the situation, so he agrees. And then we get the backstory of Mash and his father Regro, and their last name is Bernadette, or Berndead. And then it's time for the enrollment test. So Mash goes, and he has to take this test, and he actually gets through the test quite easily, but he manages to kind of fake magic in some sort of context, even though kind of people notice that he's not doing it right. It's still kind of so amazing that they're like, all right, it's fine, I guess. Then he has an enrollment interview with this guy that looks like Dumbledore, who happens to be the lead professor of this school, the principal of the school. And then we get to the first day of classes, and we get some social issues and some social tension there, because there's a lot of people that are of high social status in this school, and Mash, being kind of an unknown character and someone that's kind of weird, is at the very bottom of the social totem pole at school, right? So he gets into some trouble there. Then we have this kind of short Quidditch kind of situation with this thing called Redo or Credo or something like that. I don't remember what the name of the fake Quidditch is called, but they play that, and then we get some cream puffs, and then we get two fights in this school. You know, overall, it was a pretty good arc. I had my fun with it. It kind of has a little bit of a Magic Knights exam kind of vibe to it, like the early arc in Black Clover. It also kind of has a lot of stuff that reminds you of the first book of Harry Potter. You know, you have the first major Quidditch game, and then later on you have this situation where they're like dealing with Mandragoras, like in the early parts of the second book or the second movie. So there's a lot of stuff there that is similar and still different from Harry Potter. And there's a lot of comedy elements that kind of work for me and sometimes kind of don't, and it just really depends on your personal preference, right? So yeah, characters-wise, we have Mash, then Regro, then Brad, who is the guy that's blackmailing them, and Wahlberg, who happens to be the Dumbledore guy. Then we have Finn Ames, who is Mash's friend. We have Lemon Irving, who happens to be kind of Mash's girlfriend-ish, maybe? Kind of like the female character. But she also happens to kind of have this love for Mash in some way. And I would say that Finn is more or less like Neville, and then Lemon is more or less like Hermione. And then we have Lance, and he's not really like any Harry Potter character. At least I don't really think so. So it kind of really depends on your outlook there. But I think he's my favorite character out of all of them. I mean, I like Mash. He's pretty funny, but I think Lance is the coolest character. So I quite like him quite a bit. So yeah, world building wise, we have magical segregation. They kill the unmagical. So it's basically like if Voldemort had won, what would they do? You know, all the squibs would die, and non-magical families would not have access to magic and stuff like that. And magic power is denoted by the amount of lines someone has on their face. And it's kind of funny because it kind of reminds me of like the lines that people from Dr. Stone have. So it's kind of interesting, and I think it did come out about the same time. So it maybe was like a theme that kind of a lot of people at the Shonen Jump office had kind of interested in at that time. I'm not really sure. And how much magic power you have also denotes your social status, which is kind of weird because I don't really know how that works. Like if you're someone that has a very high magic power, and then your child has less magic power than you, are they still a high status character, or are they going to be lowered in status because they're weaker, even though they should be, you know, of a high status because of their father? It's kind of unsure how that works, but you know, that is the world building that was given to us. You kind of have to make do with it as you will, right? So yeah, the school has 3 different groups. And we don't really know what they're called at this point, I think. But one of them is like Orca, and then the other one is Lupus or something. And then there's another one. I think it was Adler, Lang, and I can't remember the other team. But one of them is an eagle, one of them is a wolf, and the other one is an orca, which is kind of interesting. And they're kind of more or less like Ravenclaw, Slytherin, and Gryffindor. And I guess Hufflepuff doesn't have an equivalent here. So that kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. And there's also these things called coins, which are collectible items. And if you have 5 gold coins, which are made up of 5 silver coins a piece, and each silver coin is made up of 3 bronze coins, I think is what it was. If you do that, if you get 5 of the gold pieces, you are eligible for the Divine Visionary test. And if you pass, you become one of them. And it's pretty good. I like the world building. It's generally pretty well made. And in terms of art and fan service, it's kind of interesting. The art style is usually pretty mediocre. It's like average. I don't know how to explain it. Like, clearly, the artist has very high skills because it can make very simple character designs that still look like humans, even if they're kind of dopey. But the usual style doesn't look that impressive, and so people are going to think that it's mediocre, and I kind of fall into that kind of vibe, right? But when the story changes from the comedy aspects to the action aspects, the art style gets ramped up a lot, and there's a lot of dynamic posing and a lot of dynamic feeling situations occurring with the art. That makes it really, really interesting to look at. So it's kind of odd because it has this ability to shift a lot, but the kind of base impression that you have of the artwork is that it's kind of, middling, right? So it's kind of interesting. There is not any fan service, though. So there is no fan service at all. So if you're someone that's kind of worried about that, don't worry. There really is none. So there you go. Like I said, ratings-wise, it's a 4 out of 5. It's very enjoyable. It's not that funny on this second go-around, but I did still kind of chuckle here and there. And mostly, Japanese comedy doesn't really work for me all that well, so, it is what it is. Mileage may vary there depending on your personal preferences and how comedy from Japan works for you, right? So that's all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.